All right, I think we are live. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Today, we are going to talk about the growth pyramid. It is a really simple framework to grow your business through the lens of marketing, reviews, technician. We're going to talk about a whole lot of stuff today. So, we have three presenters, as you can see us all here on screen. I'll introduce myself first if we got the slides moving. Yeah, there we go. There I am. My name is Jeff Davis. I am the CEO of Coalmarch, the new Coalmarch, no longer part of WorkWave. We are out on our own. We simply grow pest and green companies. That's what we do. That's our job. Our job is to grow, make entrepreneurs like Jim over here fulfill his dreams. And we do it through digital marketing. I will let everyone else introduce themselves. Chris?
Yeah, Chris Anderson here from Applause, one of the co-founders and VP of sales over here. What we do over at Applause is we try to supercharge your team and get them to provide great services to your customers so they stay longer, as well as creating other opportunities to leverage current customer experiences into new business. So our whole shtick is we want to make your technicians think like business owners while they're out in the field and taking every service as an opportunity for them to create a great customer experience. So that's a little about me.
Uh, Great. My name's Jim. I'm the owner of Advantage Pest Management out of Denver, Colorado, and I've been working with Applause and Coalmarch for the last several years, implementing their strategies and softwares in order to grow my company. And I'm here to share my experience and how it's gotten me more business and how it's really changed our company from several years ago. So I'm excited to share it with you guys.
Nice to have you, Jim. I think in these kinds of webinars, it's always hard to listen to like a Jeff or a Chris on their soapbox about things that we
Yeah.
think will work, right? But we've got somebody that's in the day to day. He's actually using it, implementing it, so we can see actual results and impact. So, thanks for being here with us. To kick things off here, we wanted to do a quick poll of all those that are in attendance, just to gain some insights into a few things. There's a lot of different ways that we can go about attracting new customers, but obviously one of the most valuable and organic methods that we have is through customer reviews. So if you wouldn't mind, just take some time and answer this question here. How do you currently get customer reviews? And we'll give everybody a chance to kind of answer out.
So before
Like,
we get all the answers in here, Chris, what's your
yeah.
prediction? What do you think?
I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of automated text and email. I think there's enough systems out there that if you're using some kind of CRM or some kind of system, there's a methodology to at least send an automated email once the service is completed. I also see a lot of companies that are still using QR codes and find that very effective, where they're doing door hangers or trying to interact with the customers. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a few there. How about
Yeah.
you?
So I'm sorry. Go
Uh,
ahead, Jim.
I was just going to say, yeah, prior to using you guys, I mean, we were QR codes, just text, ask, really had no way of streamlining review management at all. So,
And it looks like we've gotten a few responses in so far. Some are doing direct requests from technicians. Some are got on the automated text and email train. Some are sending out text manually and links within like invoices and things of that nature. So it looks like vast majority of us have streamlined this method for asking reviews by automated in some way or fashion. What we've learned, just as some insight that we've gathered over doing this for a long time, is that that is usually the best method to extract reviews from our customers is an automated text message specifically. Not to say that any of the other systems don't work. They all have value. They're all creating opportunities and these at bats for us to transition. But ultimately, the automated text, it stops somebody in their day to actually acknowledge what's being sent to them, and they get to decide whether or not to leave that review. When you're dependent upon the technician, oftentimes we don't know whether or not they're doing it. They say they might be doing it, but we don't have any kind of corroboration to ensure that that's done. Emails are just kind of a dead method of trying to engage with a post-service interaction. And then the QR codes, they work, but oftentimes we just don't know whether or not the customer is going to be around, they're going to be available, is the technician going to be able to engage with them. So there's a lot of variables in there that say that text is usually the best method. But as we go into this next slide here, we do appreciate everybody for joining up here, and we just kind of want to jump right into this growth model. And I want to preface something. Jeff and I are kind of subject matter experts within our space. Jim as well. And we're not coming here to say that what you're doing is wrong or it needs to be changed dramatically. You're probably doing, some element of all of these things. What our hope is out of this webinar is that you can extract, a few gold nuggets that you can take back and then apply internally within your own businesses so you can start to see some real impact or improvement in the way that you're currently doing things. So as we jump in today, we want that kind of mentality, not to say that what you're doing is wrong or, stop doing what you're doing, completely implement this. It's look for the things that you think can best move the needle for your company and your organization. And as we go through here, you can see a number of different layers here on each side. But what we really want to focus on is this foundational layer to start out with, is this idea of having positive customer interactions and a website that can effectively convert those customers or convert prospects into customers when the timing is right. And the idea here is that we want to make sure that the customer interaction and customer experience is solid before we do anything else. And that's why we like to start in this section here. So let's jump into why that foundation of starting with the customer experience is so important. When most most of the home service businesses or field service businesses think about growth, they start with, oh, I need more visibility out there. I need more people to know about me, and I need to rank up higher in Google. I need to be running more ads so there's more opportunity for folks to see me and then buy my services. But ultimately, that's, in our opinion, starting in the middle of where we need to be in order to have an effective strategy when it comes to growth. Ads and SEO are only going to work if we've got a solid reputation that's actually going to, back what our marketing is trying to project out there. Because if we start to, push these marketing campaigns and we have some things that are broken internally when it comes to the quality of the service that we're providing through technician engagement, it's all for naught, right? We're spending money just to buy maybe one-off deals, no recurring revenue, no value in the future there. So we want to make sure that customer experience is nailed down. And your reputation can either be kind of the thorn in your side or your greatest asset. So you can't. The hard part about that is you can't outmarket the bad reputation. People are going to find out eventually whether or not the service is good, right? They might be hoodwinked a little bit at the beginning, but ultimately they're going to start using the service. They're going to interact with your technicians, and if the technicians aren't providing a quality service, they're going to look elsewhere. So, to give you some insight here, 88% of all customers today are using Google reviews in some way to figure out whether a company is trustworthy and has high quality of service before actually engaging with them, whether that be through a review ad, or they're using Google as a method to screen you before they make a buying decision. 88% of all your customers are going to look at Google in some way. So it's super important that we create these positive customer experiences that are ultimately going to lead into qualified Google reviews. But reviews aren't just for the humans to use to kind of screen out what's going to be best for them. They're also used for algorithms and how you appear in search fields. And there's 5 key things. And Jeff, you can add to any of these that you'd like to as well. But from our perspective, there's usually 5 key things that Google is going to look at as signals to determine how you're going to rank in a local search. The first 2 are usually the ones that people put the most weight on, which is the quantity of our reviews compared to our competitors out there. The number of reviews that we're getting in creates just more authority within the space, as well as the quality, right? We want to aim for a higher rating, a 4.7 and higher. Usually gives us the best advantage in converting somebody that's looking at us and deciding whether or not to use our service. But there's 3 other things that often go overlooked that are still very important to how Google is going to showcase you in their rankings. And that's going to be, first and foremost, is recency, right? It's how consistently are you getting new reviews? If you have a bunch of reviews from last year that are solid, that's all well and good, but they're going to prioritize a company that has more recent positive reviews because it's a better indicator that the service being provided is something that can be expected if somebody is to buy today. The other thing to consider as well is proximity, right? The geolocation for where we're servicing. We want to make sure that that aligns with our capabilities to provide services to those customers that actually see that, those ads show up within proximity, as well as the consistency. How frequently, regularly are we receiving these reviews to corroborate the fact that we're not just a one and done last year where we, asked a bunch of our customers for reviews. We rank up a little bit. We supplement the amount of the reviews that we're getting. It's, hey, this is a consistent thing that our customers have that can expect over time. So again, those are a few of the signals that we want to focus on when we're looking at Google reviews. Jeff, anything to add there as far as other signals or things that Google uses in their algorithm in order to, promote them within a local search?
I think within local, we'll address it here in a little while, getting more directly into local SEO, but reviews are a key portion of it. I mean, in our world, I think in business, we'd say Google's eating their own dog food, right? They're using their own review platform to build up the SEO for their own demand. It's an interesting ecosystem, and they play together. And I think as we kind of walk through this, you'll be able to see it more clearly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see Terry was saying that they've got more Google review locations, even though they're a small population. I think this is kind of a brilliant idea too, is to have these satellite locations. So if I'm searching for, Draper, Utah, which is my city, I'm going to see that localized, Google review profile that's going to be more relevant to me because it's in my specific city. So that's also a strategy that you can employ as well. But let's move on to kind of this foundational concept of positive customer interactions. So, this isn't necessarily just a function of keywords and ad budgets here. It's a function of, how often real customers say you did a great job. So behind every review is going to be that experience. And that experience usually is leveraged by the technician, right? They're the front line, if you will, to whether or not the customer is going to have that positive experience. So their behaviors, their timeliness when it comes to the appointments, the communication that they're having with the customers, the follow through afterwards, all these are going to result in this opportunity to create an experience that could eventually convert into this Google review. So your review volume isn't even necessarily a marketing stat or a marketing tool. It could also be a great tool for operational feedback and understanding how your technicians are interacting with your customers. And companies that train and reward the field teams, we've seen just have better 5-star conversion. And it makes sense, right? It's this wheel that we like to refer to, this pinwheel, if you will, of we get a new customer. This customer is serviced by one of our technicians. The technician elevates the quality of the service so that the customer has an awesome experience. We ask them for a review. That review is then used to either convert a new customer, the customer is used to screen out whether or not they're going to use our service. And then they get thrown into the service cycle again, where the technician serves, we get a review, we get new business. Technician serves, customer gives us a review, we get new business. So it's super important to focus on kind of the core issue of what we feel is, whether or not going to dictate whether we get that 5-star review is the technician providing a service worthy enough for a 5-star review. Asking for the review, that's usually pretty easy, but the core issue that we find here is that it's hard to incentivize the workforce to look at services outside of just checking the box, right? We want to make sure that they're really incentivized there. And as Jim, as you've gone through and you've transitioned a number of different methods of using reviews, I know you talked about using QR codes initially. What were some of the things that you changed in order to see an influx on the amount of reviews that you were receiving?
Well, I think when we met each other at Pest World a couple of years ago, we started implementing Applause and instantly started seeing a huge increase in reviews very quickly. And I think a lot of it was very seamless. Technician has a great experience with the customer rates the technician, customer gives the technician a 5-star Google review, and it just made it streamlined it for us so that we would start getting an increase. I mean, a lot of these times, these customers, they want to leave the review, but just like anybody else, they forget, or, a couple of days go by and then all of a sudden they're like, we'll get it next time around or something like that. So having it in front of them, having the technician interact with that customer and letting them know if you enjoyed the service, you'll get a text message, and then it perpetuates from there. And we've seen a significant increase in reviews over the last 3 years since we've been using Applause.
Awesome, man. I love to hear it. And what Jim is talking about is kind of this instant gratification, this instant recognition for a job well done in the moment, right? So I think a lot of us are incentivizing reviews in some way or another, where we offer a bonus if a name is mentioned. But that's a lot of time, a lot of administration. We'll talk about kind of the scalability behind that. But this concept of rewarding your team with aligning it to a business objective like reviews, it has significant impact, as Jim shared there. And oftentimes we kind of question, how much is enough when it comes to review count? Well, if we go back to that previous slide, it's, quantity is just one of many factors here. I would say if you had, maybe 100 reviews a few years ago, you probably could have been in a good spot. But as we continue to grow, as other businesses continue to grow and keep asking for reviews, that number is going to fluctuate over time. I would say 500-ish should get you in a good spot, but we've got other companies that are doing 1,000 and the tens of thousands of reviews. So I don't think there's any one number that's going to say, hey, we've done enough, we can stop. It's more so just a consistent practice that's scalable that allows us to collect reviews, over time. So with that said, that's kind of the foundational piece of the customer experience, right? And how that impacts our potential growth. And I'll turn time over to Jeff now. He can walk through the other foundational piece on website and why that's so important to start with.
Before we completely jump over to the website, 5 minutes before we jumped on this call today, I had my HVAC technician leave. Didn't ask for a review. Didn't have mobile payment. That was good. That was really, really good. But anyway, I thought it was a missed opportunity. First thing, I was like, there's a missed opportunity right there, right? All right. So moving on to the other foundational piece here. Chris, did you have something to add?
No, nothing here. Just I think we can just jump into the next slide here.
Let's go ahead and jump into the next one.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to talk about website. This is absolutely a foundational piece. So a website that is designed for conversion is the key. So people that are coming to your site to take an action, to buy, to learn more, to move through, you've got to be focused on conversion. It's the difference between having a site that is making money, converting leads, driving leads, converting even business throughout the night while you're sleeping, versus spending a lot of money and driving people to something that's just not going to convert. And at that point, you're just wasting. So before you start talking about ads and search engine optimization, you've got to be looking at conversion on your site, of actually converting people. So the foundation is pretty standard, right? So you're looking for 3 things from a conversion standpoint. And these are pretty universal across any website that you go to. You've got to educate very, very quickly. So when I come to that very first page, I've got to know what you do, where you do it, and why, what differentiates you. Like, how are you better than everyone else? I have to eliminate friction. And what we mean by eliminating friction is we mean that we are trying to make that conversion as easy as possible. So as many ways as they can contact you, as they can purchase from you, if they can call, phone numbers, maybe even just buy directly on the website through an AI platform. Friction is the key. They've got to have multiple ways. Text, that's always a good option today. I think we've been talking about that a lot. And lastly, you've got to build trust. So badges, certifications, and reviews. Surprise, we're going to talk about reviews. We want reviews up there. I know in my world, it's peer association, right? Google reviews are my peers, and that's who I'm listening to. I'm looking to those Google reviews at all times to say, do I want to buy a service or not? I've got kind of a funny story on that, Chris. I'm not sure if we're behind right now, but I'm going to tell it. So I'm at I was at a convention a few years ago, and I was talking to someone, and the marketing wasn't working for them. Just digital marketing wasn't working in general. And when we went back, I went to the website, I took a look around, didn't see anything really big on the website. I went to Google and saw 2.5-star reviews, average. I'm like, first thing was like, you're attacking the wrong place. You can advertise all day long, but there's no trust. No one is going to buy your service. So I'm not putting any names out there. We didn't mention any of the names, but let's just say that they've changed course and things are a lot better. So, all right, moving on to the next one. So when we're looking at converting, there are two things if you build your site to convert that you're going to affect very, very quickly. So the first thing is SEO. And we touched upon this a little bit, Chris, in your section, search engine optimization and the effects that reviews have on SEO. So if you have a site that is really well structured, it's got relevant content that is updated frequently, it's a fast loading content, then you're going to rank high. Ideally, you want to be in what's called the map pack. So that is, pest service near me, lawn care near me type of a thing. And the second thing you're going to do is you're not going to waste money on paid ads. So if you're driving people to the website and you've built a really good high converting website, it's in the DNA of the website itself, you're not throwing money away. So you can spend money all day long and drive people to the website, but if it's not built to capture them and to move them to the next stage, it's not going to help anyone out at the end of the day.
So I wanted to stop right here, Jeff. There was a question in the chat here that we kind of missed out, and I think it's super relevant to everybody on the call here. Is this idea of seasonality, right? Getting consistent reviews, it's hard during kind of a state where, this is the question that actually showed up.
Now we got it. Okay, we're a little slow to adapt today, Chris.
Yeah, it was a little slow. So I want to get your question answered here, Mike, and I think Jim's probably going to be the best resource for you because they're dealing with this all the time. The answer is that during these slow months, you're probably not going to be acquiring new business. So the idea of getting consistent reviews isn't as relevant as it is during your busy seasons. So even though you aren't able to get new reviews, you probably aren't pushing for new business during these timeframes anyway, unless you've got some kind of ancillary service that you're trying to promote. So that would be my answer there. I don't think it'll have too big of an impact. But Jim, any experience on this front where you've seen a negative impact during the seasonality here?
I haven't seen a negative impact. Honestly, I think it gives an opportunity, depending on where you're at, Mike. I'm not too sure. I'm in Denver, so our rodent season picks up a lot when the pest season starts to come to an end. And we do have fewer jobs. We do run a little bit slower, but during the year, as you're pumping up your reviews, I've noticed a bigger increase in customer calls, utilizing between Coalmarch and Applause. We've had more customer calls, which has allowed for more opportunity for review. And I also think because we slow down, the technicians slow down, and they do have opportunity to still talk to those customers and still try to drive more reviews, even maybe more so than the summer, just because there's a little bit more of an interaction when you're talking to those customers versus doing your routine pest maintenance, outside de-webbing, things like that. When we're doing rodent season, we're in the customer's home, we're talking to the customer. So I think both, you still have plenty of opportunity to get reviews one way or the other, even if there's more services or less services.
Awesome. Great insight there, Jim. Yeah. All right. Sorry to interject there, Jeff. You can.
No, proceed. It was great. And, we've got a team behind us, Chris. I think we're the slow ones today. I think we didn't quite catch the
always are.
Question coming up there. So thank you, Katie and team behind the scenes. So pivoting back to the websites a little bit, this is really, really important to note. A website is not a one-time project. This is not something you build and set to the side. Just like going and asking for reviews is not a one-time thing. There's a theme here, right? This is something that is ongoing. It's going on continually over time. And the reason being is that you have to update for Google to be found. You've got to keep on putting relevant insights out there, relevant data for Google to consume. It's becoming even more relevant in the age of AI. I know we're not talking about AI, but we can talk about AI for sure. But anyway, this was an important note we wanted to say. This is not a project. I know some traditional agencies build a website, do a little bit of maintenance off to the side, but this is something just like your CRM, you need to be updating at all times and keeping fresh as much as you can.
Yeah, we're no stranger to this either, just even within our own business, right? We're constantly looking for ways to streamline, to create better efficiencies within our own website. There's a lot of new tools out there that are, coming out through AI that are always good to keep top of mind. So I would agree with you, Jeff. It's not a one and done. You got to keep this thing, constantly updated. So it's keeping up with the times and utilizing all the resources that are available there. And moving now into the next part of this growth model is on our side is more technician engagement. We've talked about the customer interactions. We've talked about the customer experience. Again, all that is dependent upon whether or not the technician is going to provide that service directly to the customer. And you know, again, to make your marketing program amplify those strengths, we have to make sure that the team is engaged. And the best way that we've found to do that is to create a lot of transparency, a lot of visibility, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But here's some of the impact that can happen when you start to engage your workforce. We see a 10% higher customer loyalty. So it means that your customers are staying longer. They have a higher propensity to potentially upsell into other offerings that you're providing to them outside of maybe just general pest, as well as a 17% higher productivity. So the technicians that are in seat are running more efficient routes. They are creating better and more experiences for your customer base. But again, it all comes down to whether or not the technician looks at a service as an opportunity for them, or whether they look at it as just a box that they need to check to complete their day. So let's go into this next slide here and talk what this means in kind of a practical environment. This means that, you know, if your technicians are motivated, aligned, and invested in their work, the customers are just going to be more satisfied and more likely to book with you again. And that effect just compounds over time, right? Where internally at Applause, what we try to do is put a high emphasis on our customer experience, so that when we do come out with a new product, a new feature, they're going to be very trusting of us to buy into that feature without having any kind of foresight into what the return on that investment is going to be, because they've trusted us with previous products. They know that they can reach out to us if they have problems, and ultimately that just creates more opportunities for us to leverage more revenue out of existing customers in a way that they're happy to abide by. So with that, the difference between marketing that drives a one-time job and marketing that fuels repeat business, referrals, higher lifetime customer value, is going to be in the service that we're providing. This idea of service-led growth. And when we link our technician engagement to the marketing engine, it creates kind of this domino effect that we see here. Engaged technicians deliver better service. The customers reward that service with loyalty, potential referrals, talking about it with their friends. They're giving you more opportunities for reviews, maybe outside of even Google at that point. Your brand reputation then strengthens and allows your marketing spend to go even further, right? So it's not just winning to win the account right off the gate. It's winning an account that's going to actually produce for you in the long term. And Jim, I wanted to get kind of your insights on this for a little bit. Uh, what was it about the reviews themselves, right? Reviews is just an output. What did you see when it came to new business, when your technicians started to provide better service and get more reviews? What was the outcome there?
Well, when the technicians, I mean, yeah, they're striving to get their NPS scores up, making sure that they're providing a good customer experience. They're getting Google reviews. They're incentivized. But yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, what's going to happen is just you're gonna be running a high quality service. You're going to have technicians that are going to constantly work hard for doing a good service, and in turn, you're gonna organically grow your business just through positive interaction, word of mouth. Customers are happy. Everybody's satisfied, and you can see it with the numbers. And you feel, as an owner, you feel really good about what's happening out there, because you can just easily pull up the Applause database and say, okay, well, our technicians are getting 10 out of 10s NPS scores. I know that the days are running smooth and everybody is enjoying their services when you might not know otherwise. And there is a negative feedback, you can jump on it right away and make sure, was it a mishit or was there something missed, and you can address that quickly.
That's awesome. And I'm guessing probably maybe not a business objective, but peace of mind seems to be a little bit of a value that comes from knowing that the technicians are providing great services to your customers and your customers are happy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're running, 50, 60, 100. I mean, sure, companies are running 500 stops a day. You don't always know what's going out in the field. You want to make sure you have your procedures in place and your systems, but without that feedback in the field, you really don't know how the day is going at all.
Yeah.
And it keeps the technicians very accountable on their services, because you're going to know real quick if somebody's lacking, or if maybe there's a hole in your system you got to fix. You can get all that data just by implementing Applause.
Yeah, it's a bit of a stick and a carrot, right? Like if you do good, there's this carrot waiting for you, but also if you do bad, we're going to find out about it and you're going to hear
Yeah.
from us. We had a question come through here that was, do we ever offer any customer incentive for them to give a Google review? This is something we need to be very careful about, and I don't think it's talked about often, is this concept of review gating. Review gating is essentially when you're incentivizing the review giver to provide a 5-star review, which kind of creates a bias situation where it's not going to be kind of an organic review that comes in. So it's something that we caution against, for the mere fact that Google is kind of the authority here and they can shut down a profile whenever they feel like it. And it's just not worth the risk associated with providing incentives directly to customers for 5-star reviews, because the outcome could be potentially that Google just shuts down our profile, right? And all that hard work, all the reviews that we've collected over time is no longer working for us. And again, that's a prime foundation for us to really leverage any marketing, or marketing impact. So I would say no. However, there are ways that we can incentivize the team or the customers without actually providing a direct incentive. And at Applause, what we try to do is we link the service to the technician, and we say, hey, customer, if you give us a 5-star review, we'll bonus the technician $5. So in essence, we're not directly incentivizing the customer, so we're good within Google's guidelines, but we're still kind of playing a little bit of a psychological game. They're pulling at their heartstrings, saying, okay, well, maybe I don't want to leave a review for XYZ pest company, but I do love John because he's a hardworking technician, and if $5 goes into his pocket, yeah, I'll take 3 minutes out of my day to make sure that review is submitted. So we go about it in a way that's a little bit more of a psychological play, pulling at the heartstrings of the customer versus directly incentivizing them and potentially compromising our GMB profiles. Hopefully that answered your question there, Christine. Saw your note here, Joe, that you sent in an email to Bear requesting a new feature for Applause. We love the new feature requests, guys. That's how we built a product that I think resonates with the market. So we'll take a look at that, Joe, and see what we can do for you. But I appreciate you sending that on. Jeff, I'll turn time to you to talk through local SEO.
I've got to add another relevant story here before we move on. So last time, my last pest control visit, the poor guy drove from Lexington across the state. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, so we're flyover country. Drove across the state, pouring rain. And, I got mice outside at this point in time. So he's out there baiting the whole time. I've never felt so bad in my life. I was extremely happy to get that text and give him a 5-star review and tip him. Now, if you'd asked me, to try to pay me incentive, that would have kind of turned me off. But let me tell you, getting that review and giving him that review, I felt good that day. Felt really, really good. Okay, so let's move on. We're in the second layer of the pyramid right now. We've talked about technician engagement. We have happy technicians. We're getting all these 5-star reviews. Now we're playing into local SEO, right? This is where it's going to start to pay off. And we alluded to this. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but with local SEO, we're really talking about two very distinct areas that's going to have an impact. One is on the map pack. So this is that organic kind of listing of I'm looking for services that are near me. The other one is local service ads. Now, both of these exist in what we call zero click. So these people are never visiting your website. You're advertising, they're organically finding you on Google, and then they're calling directly into your business as a lead and hopefully to purchase. These are zero click. This is the new frontier. This is the area where you want to be, you have to be. My guess is everyone on the call understands that. When we're looking at the map pack in general, it's all about relevancy. So is your website quick? Does it have authority? Do you have content that's up to date? Are we driving people there? And then you're going to show up, right? If you've done all the things we talked about in the first stage, you are actually going to show up in the map pack. If you're not there yet, you can buy your way in. That's great, right? You can go ahead and pay and buy ads and go into either above or sometimes within the actual map app itself, and buy yourself a place in there. I think ideally we want organic, right? Everyone wants organic leads to be drawn. So the more reviews you have, the more 5-star reviews you have, the more likely you are to get those organic leads and to be in these local service areas. All right, moving on. Okay, so when we look at your local search engine optimization, local SEO, it's really about 3 different items. This is the weighting that we were talking about earlier too within the reviews themselves. So you've got proximity. How close are you? I think Google is now weighing down to a couple mile radius for your location, exactly where you are. It's very, very specific compared to where it used to be. So are you showing up? Do you have a verified Google business profile? I know we've had a few clients get caught there where their business profile got caught in Google's netherworld. Do you have authority? This is where reviews come in. That constant stream of reviews that are coming into your business, high quality reviews, they're written out. You're getting a lot of good content that shows to Google that you have authority in your space. You've got proximity too. Are you a trusted site? And then consistency. So do we have a stream? This goes back to before, and I think we even had a question about this, about getting that consistent stream of reviews that are coming through to your platform. Consistency really is the key. So driving those as often as you can, or not, at least not in one burst, like one campaign to drive a whole lot of reviews at that time. So Jim, I'm curious from your perspective, how have you all done this in your business? How have you focused on driving SEO, local SEO leads?
Well, obviously having your Google page looking clean, updating it constantly makes a huge difference. But that website that we've had with Coalmarch and beefing it up and getting our local SEO more consistent and updating consistently with Google's rules has just driven us, I want to say, around like 5,000 organic views a month just to our Google page. And that's significant, especially, not for only any business, especially for small businesses that watch all their pennies and where they're getting spent. And it's continued to drive business and drive growth for us over the last few years, 4 or 5 years that we've been working with Coalmarch specifically. So we've had a dramatic impact between Coalmarch's local SEO content that you guys develop and we talk about, and how it's reflected onto our Google page and how we're showing up on map packs. I'm constantly just on Google every once in a while searching Denver pest control, Lafayette pest control. Are we popping up on those maps? And we do. And I can tell from where we get calls sometimes. I'm like, we don't generally service down in that area. We do service that area, but we don't get called from that area. And I've noticed a big impact over this year, especially, that we're getting a lot more calls in other areas.
That's great.
And I think we have a mini case study here when it comes to consistency. Blake just commented saying, I noticed when we opened up a new location on Google Business Profiles and routed all the applause reviews to that new location, our main location did not get any reviews for about 3 months. And we did have a slight drop during that time when there was no activity. So thanks, Blake, for sharing that. It kind of, emphasizes the importance of this consistency and the amount of reviews that we're getting. One of the things that we can do when you are opening up new businesses or new Google Business Profiles is we can funnel all traffic to those profiles to really get them, relevant and get them to a good spot within a very short period of time, which is what Blake did. But it goes to show consistency does have a pretty significant impact there. Moving into kind of the next step here in the growth pyramid is this idea of operational scale. We talked about creating positive customer experiences so we can leverage that within our Google reviews, incentivizing and engaging the technicians so that they create and they want to provide these high quality engagements with customers. But now let's talk about kind of the operational scale that aligns with that. Many of us, and Jim, you're no stranger to it, we probably had some manual systems set up to accommodate for technician engagement, for customer interaction. Walk us through a little bit about, what those manual processes look like, maybe some of the, the administrative burdens that you felt before implementing the right tools and systems.
Man, I would just probably say inconsistency, lack of incentive, no instant gratification. It just, you could try almost anything. Okay, ask them. You know, here's a $10 bonus at the end of a month, or for every review that you can pull. But it just didn't really work with the technicians. It didn't work with me personally. I mean, even going out and just trying to reach for those reviews, we couldn't get them. And no matter what I tried, I just really couldn't get those reviews. We would get them here and there, but it was a direct text message begging for a review. But once we've implemented the proper, standard operating procedures and working with those technicians, that's when it really started to ramp up for us and become more and more consistent.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about consistency within Google reviews, consistency within the business is also super important as well, to create these impressions on our technicians, right? If they're seeing benefits like once a month, if they're seeing them every quarter, it doesn't have that lasting impact as like that immediate gratification of a job well done
Mhm.
in the moment that you're doing the job, right? It hits that dopamine receptor in our brains that says, "Hey, I did something good. I got rewarded for it. I want to do it again in the future." Right. So that's the psychological play that we want to create within our operations, so that we can create just more visibility into the day of a technician. Right. I think today a lot of managers, owners, we have a lot of dashboards and insights into the performance of our technicians, but it's not streamlined and visible directly to that technician, and not changing any behaviors, right? We have all the data, but that data isn't necessarily translating into behavioral change that elevates quality of service or efficiencies on the job. So super important to have the right tools in place to create these kinds of efficiencies that take off of the administrative burdens that you would feel if you were running things manually. Knowing which technicians are thriving and which ones need the coaching, that kind of visibility is also super helpful. Jim referred to some of our NPS ratings that send him notifications when a customer has a poor experience. It's a great indicator of, hey, maybe we need to talk to this technician and take a look at some of the things that he's doing on job, so that we can change those behaviors for the future. While identifying those top performers as well, right? We want to make sure that our A players stay in seat and they're incentivized to do so, so we don't lose them to somewhere else, and ensuring that the seasonal ramp ups don't lead to a quality drop off or any kind of burnout. Right? We're all affected by that seasonality there. And the idea here is you don't need to be perfect, but you need to be very intentional about what behaviors you're trying to motivate out of your team, and what systems you have in place to automate a lot of those systems. So real performance visibility is going to be key in that, making sure that your technician knows what great performance looks like. They're not just out there in the field throwing darts at a non-existent dartboard, that they can look and see in real time where they're at, how it's measured, and if there's any reward associated with it. And that's this idea around operational scale, and what we built with scorecards is it gives technicians those insights in the qualitative side of the work that they're doing, as well as the quantitative. We're doing things like measuring NPS scores, Google reviews, potential voluntary customer tipping as a form of qualitative, but there's a lot of other things that we're measuring here that are very relevant when it comes to technician performance and overall customer experience. Time on site, driver safety, route completion, etc. So if done right, if we can go to the next slide here, scorecards can change a lot of things within the business, because technicians just have so much of an impact on whether or not parts of your business are going to succeed. So it's going to distill dozens of those metrics into one clear understanding that the technician can see from a high level. Where am I at on NPS? Where does Jim need me to be on my NPS rating? What is my reward if I hit a high expectation that he has of me? So it keeps me aligned with business objectives while also motivating me in my own day. And then we want to show every technician how they're doing in real time, align those daily behaviors with business goals. I think we talked a little bit about that before, but if we've just got bonuses to be throwing out bonuses and it's not aligned with a business objective, that's just money burnt and money spent, right? It's not making any kind of behavior changes. So making sure that they're aligned with profitability for the company, that the rewards and bonuses are aligned with retention, things that are going to drive significant needle moving for the business is super important. Automating as much as we can and centralizing that view of the technician is going to be vital. Jim, as your guys have been able to see things in real time, what's some of the feedback that you've heard from them about like getting those bonuses on reviews in real time daily?
I mean, when you kind of think like a technician a little bit, I mean, getting 2-3 reviews, we do $10 bonuses for every Google review, and $1 for every 10 out of 10 NPS score. So pretty heavy handed on it. I mean, 2 reviews is, an extra hour of work for free. I mean, they're getting paid just to do their job properly, even extra, and they're being incentivized. So it just continuously reinforces a positive experience for the customers and positive experience for the technician, and in technician retention as well. I don't know if we've gone into that at all, but they don't want to go anywhere. They're extremely happy with how they're taken care of, and know that when they're rewarded for doing a good job, and it goes back to them. So and everything's measurable. So you got those measurable KPIs that you, like we were saying, that where you value your business at, driving safety, NPS scores, Google reviews. You can kind of get really customized with it. With Applause, is just going to reinforce the business's core values and the technician's commitment to the services, and being a high quality person and technician.
Yeah. How much time do you think you're saving by having like systems and scalability in place where you're not having to do a lot of the manual work anymore?
You mean with having to manually try to go out and do Google reviews and stuff?
Yeah, manually, maybe bonusing on the Google reviews, matching it to a technician, internally tracking a lot of these metrics, and then trying to
Oh
create
yeah.
visibility for them in one-on-ones.
I think that it's so easy to get lost, is having that real-time data. The technicians can actually see what's happening on there, and they know exactly what their data is. It's not at the end of the month of, well, you're saying that I drove poorly. Did I drive poorly? Or you're saying that I had an 85 NPS score. Did I have an 85? So a lot of that stuff, I mean, it just takes it out, and you can really focus on the business. I mean, hours to the point where it's not even really manageable, with how busy you can be as a small business. I mean, managing KPIs as a small business, not automated, I don't really know how anybody can do it effectively.
Administrative nightmare for sure.
I don't know.
And yeah. And I think you touched on something super important as well. Is what we found in our R&D and research and development is that it's not necessarily the amount of the bonus that has the biggest impact. It's the consistency at which bonuses are being delivered, right? It's this drip campaign of positive feedback throughout their day that motivates the technicians every day to do a great job. Jeff, you were about to say something, and I asked Jim a question.
It's more curiosity, probably for Jim and maybe for you too, Chris. But when I look at something like this, does this drive a competitive nature in the technicians? Do you see them, really drive, like when you see that scorecard and you're ranking against your peers out there? Does that change behaviors? What do you see happen, Jim?
Personally, I haven't seen any outspoken competition necessarily. I mean, when it comes to like reservices and stuff, I mean, they can see that and they're like, okay, well, maybe I'm getting a little bit too much, or something along those lines. Maybe I need to try to gamify it a little bit more. Or maybe it's an internal thing amongst the technicians. I mean, we do talk about, who's got, positive Google reviews and what went well for the week and stuff. But I haven't seen too much competition personally, but I know that internally it's there for each technician. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. So I think
it. Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to touch on too is that we just recently released a thing called competitions for that very purpose. Yeah. I think when
I had no idea,
Jeff, you knew that, but yeah. No. But the idea of it is that the technicians just didn't really know what to compete for. Right.
Yeah.
So what we did was build out a very visible environment where they can see where they're at, but also having that carrot at the end of the rainbow where it's like, okay, if I get enough Google reviews for the month, then I get $50. That for me now creates competition, right? Beforehand, it was just like, here's all the metrics. I can compare myself to others if I want to, but there needs to be that carrot involved in a competition for it to be worthwhile for the technician. But let's move into the next part of the pyramid here on the paid search sides of things. Jeff, do you want to take it away
Yeah,
with
let's
this
kick
poll
this off.
question?
We'll move over. So we're talking about scaling on the operational side. Now let's talk about scaling on the marketing side. So poll for everyone. Which of the following marketing KPIs are you tracking today? We have cost per lead, conversion rate, customer acquisition cost, CAC, or total lifetime value of a client, or none of the above. Maybe you're not collecting anything. We kind of needed all of the above on there too. I think we missed that one. Most sophisticated. So just pick your favorite. Don't do that. Yeah, that's really interesting, Chris. And I swear I did not know about your new product. And Chris did not pay me off this side, but it just looked natural to me because I know how I am when it comes to lists. I don't like being at the bottom or the middle. I want to be at the top of the ranking. All right, so it looks like, I don't know. I'm from horse racing country, guys. So I always look these things like a horse race, like who's coming in second. Okay, looks like we've got conversion rates and customer acquisition costs are coming in at the top, but we're pretty well distributed. It looks like everyone is tracking something. That's good. That's good. We've got a place to start. Okay, well, let's move on. Let's jump into this a little bit more. We're at the third tier of our growth pyramid. We've looked at operational scale, how to do it from an operations standpoint and build it. Now let's take a look at paid search. So remember, we've built a website that is driven for conversion. We focused on local SEO. So we're in that map pack. We're placing some ads over there. Now we're to the point where our foundation is built. We can pour a little bit of gasoline on this fire. And now we're going to look into paid search. So let's jump into it. There are three fundamentals that we're going to talk through. So we've got paid ads and tracking, but there are three metrics that we really look at that we are tracking. One is the cost per lead. So how efficient are you at placing ads? What is your average cost per lead? We track them for our clients. We track it across the industry. We track it across regions, and we're even getting more intelligent with that right now. The second one is, what is your conversion rate? So leads coming into the business, how often are they converting to actual revenue into your business? That is a critical metric to be looking at. And the third one is, your cost of acquisition versus your lifetime value of a client. We see in different clients, different channels have different retention rates. Lifetime value is very different depending on marketing channels that come in. And the acquisition costs can be very different. Door knocking is going to be extremely different than digital marketing, is going to be extremely different than print marketing. They all have their different cost of acquisition and long-term value. So if we're moving on to the next one. All right. So we have measured everything. We've taken a look at our scalable. Oh, we're skipping around a little bit here. Are we skipping out? All right. So we've built our brand. We've built a growth model. We've learned how to scale a business, how to peak the business up. From our side, it's been about building a converting website, local search engine optimization, and now paid search. Chris, you want to give us a little bit of insight onto your side?
Yeah, I think this just is a good path for us all to understand that where we need to start before we jump into paid search, we jump into trying getting local SEO and understanding what needs to be prioritized here. Some things are probably already in place for your businesses. And just as Jeff mentioned, that it's the website is not a one and done, neither is the growth model, right? You're always going to be looking for ways to iterate. You're always going to be looking for ways to improve it. Potentially, if we go on to the next slide here, just evolving the strategy, looking at potentially new channels that we can leverage to gain more customer impressions. We want to make sure that we're running campaigns during the offsite to ensure that our pipeline stays warm, that we don't start from zero at peak. We want to have smarter spending as we continue to do this, right? We all want to do some A/B testing on what ads work, what ads convert versus which ones don't, and always be very aware of that retention flywheel, turning that great customer experiences into more reviews, into referrals, into more recurring revenue. But with that said, we want to turn some time over to Jim so he can kind of walk us through. We've asked some questions and peppered him throughout the conversation here. But what are some of more of the objective outputs and things that the challenges that you were running into as you were first getting started with the growth pyramid?
Well, I think to start out, I mean, some of the things I would run into from, website development companies and stuff is they want to build a website and then they just kind of want to put it on autopilot. And I found that wasn't very effective. I wasn't being communicated with on what was being done. And we just really weren't getting anywhere with it. And I think in, the 12 years that I've owned this business, I probably went through 4 or 5, every other year I was searching for another website company and searching for another website company until I met Coalmarch. So that it's really taken it to the next level. And I feel extremely comfortable with Coalmarch and how they operate and how they change and how they keep me updated. So that's been great. The review process, I mean, that was pretty much, it was there, but it was non-existent at the end of the day. I can't even imagine my business without Applause in terms of Google review management and in managing those technicians and operating in that sense. So a lot of the struggles were just manual and inconsistency in communication and lack of development, or trying to think of the right word, of progression with the industry and keeping developing your guys' software and company. I would say you guys are always coming out with new ideas that are fun to implement personally. So, and I get in the communications there.
Well, we got guys like Joe that are no stranger to giving us recommendations on how we can improve the product. And Jim, you've been a great advocate for us as well. But that's awesome to hear that you found 2 great solutions to kind of scale this model, 2 solutions that you can trust that are going to work the way you need them to work. What have been some of the results, impact that you've seen using kind of this scalable growth model and this growth pyramid?
I mean, I know we have some people in here that might be on, the smaller side and under $1 million. And I want to say that I probably started using, I was like a lot of other companies. I was just trying to get to that next level, and it's extremely difficult and you don't know how to manage it. And so, we were able to double business within three years, probably a shorter period of time.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's gone really fast, and it's fun for sure. It's a lot to manage, but it's a lot of fun seeing the business grow and getting to do the fun side of the business, with the softwares and stuff. But putting those KPIs in there and watching your technicians hit them. I mean, that's really exciting too. When you're seeing your technicians succeed and the business succeed, everybody's extremely happy. When we first started with Applause, we had less than 100 reviews, I want to say. So we're on the cusp of 600, which we'll probably get to by the end of this month, realistically. So we'll be at that 600 review mark. And then, Google traffic. I mean, we're up 4,000 to 5,000 views a month. I mean, we're showing up for everybody. So, and that's thanks to Coalmarch, and just the way that you both work together really creates the wheel for a pest control owner and a technician. I mean, like your growth pyramid. I mean, the service start to finish, the customer gets the full experience. And we're starting to move into that part of an industry, not being necessarily a home services industry, but really a customer experience industry. They need to find you on Google. They need to see you have positive reviews. You need to have a website that is easy to navigate, that they can get in contact with you. They want a technician that's going to do a good job, and they want to be able to, at the end of the day, say, hey, this went great. And provide that feedback. So it really creates, it closes the loop on a full service. It's not just about getting as many customers as you can. It's not about, incentivizing your technicians. It's really about putting all the pieces together so that you're creating a rock solid service industry business.
You brought up a really interesting point that I've heard multiple times now just the last week. So I don't know if it's just coincidence, but I talked to another home service business, and they were like, the only way that we can differentiate within the market is the quality of the service that we're providing, right? It's the emphasis and the intentionality behind what our labor looks like, and incentivizing that labor to ensure that there's, quality service being delivered. Jim, appreciate you sharing those statistics. Just to answer Isaac's question, does Applause easily integrate with field routes? Yes. That integration is necessary as well. We need to create certain triggers to send out text messages, to request reviews, to request NPS ratings, upsells, referrals, etc. So that is the answer there to your question. That it is vital, necessary, and we do integrate. Eric just sharing here that we went from just over 1,000 reviews to now 3,000 since starting Applause. That's fantastic. You definitely leverage those reviews for more SEO and effective ad spend now. So that's great to hear, Eric. I want to turn the time to everybody here. We appreciate everybody, their kind attention and their participation. Any questions for myself, Jeff, or Jim before we break here?
Chris, I think you've hit them all as we've gone along. You've done a good job with that. Thanks for moderating and jumping into those questions. Fantastic.
That's the behind the scenes, dude. Don't give me all that credit. That's Katie doing the work. she's the magic maker there. Well, if there are no other questions, if you do have interest in learning a little bit more about this growth pyramid, if we can bring up that slide, Katie, there's a QR code that you can use to download this booklet that we've created that allows you to kind of go through exactly what we've gone through today in detail. So if you are interested, you can scan this QR code, download the complete guide to the growth pyramid. If you're interested in either Jeff's or my services on Applause or Coalmarch, please reach out. Jim, I'm sure you'd be available too for any of those other small business owners that are looking to see what you did and how you've been successful. We'll be sure to get you in touch with Jim as well. But any parting thoughts, Jeff, on your end?
No, this has been great. Jim, thank you so much for joining us and taking time to do this. Chris, for putting this together, and for the whole team for putting together the ebook. I thoroughly encourage you to download it. I think, what is it, 40 pages? It's thorough. Very
comprehensive.
Yes.
There's a lot in there that we did not cover today. That's super, super helpful.
I would highly suggest everyone take a look.
And Jim, wanted to reiterate that from Jeff too. Just really appreciate you coming on here, showing kind of the day-to-day impact and not just letting me and Jeff be on our soapboxes and preaching the good word. But it's just awesome to see the real impact that it's having in businesses. It's great to hear.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me. I loved being a case study for you guys. And I mean, again, over the last 4 years that I've been working with you, it's been really fun to see, Applause grow since I've started it, and the things that you've implemented, and also seeing what Coalmarch is starting to implement as well, branching out in terms of their creation and what you guys are going to be able to do within your business as well. So I'm very excited for it. It's been fun to see both.
The cuffs are off on Coalmarch, man. Jeff and team, they've got some really, really cool ideas that they're going to be implementing that I'm excited to see the impact of. Well, thanks everybody for joining. We'll let you get back to your days. And again, watch for potential more webinars in the future. Hopefully you found a few nuggets in here that you can take back and apply to your own businesses. And again, if you have any additional questions or things you'd like to learn a little bit more about, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you.
Awesome.
See you guys.
Thanks.